everyone, my name is Amy McDonough, and I'm coming to you from the Media Department of the SMA Fathers in Tenafly, New Jersey. Here with me today is Mr. Joe Worthington of the SMA, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his life and past experiences as an SMA Lay Associate. So, hi Mr. Worthington, thank you so much for being here with us today. How is everything?
Fine, Amy. Good morning. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're so happy to chat with you today. So just to start things off a little bit, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I've been with SMA since 2010, and I did a 3-month orientation course, and then from there I was sent to Ghana. And I've been in Ghana for the last 6 years, 3 tours.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you. So, why did you want to join the SMA, and what led you to choose the SMA over other Catholic orders?
Okay. Basically, I've always, ever since I was about 10 years old, I felt a draw to Africa. I don't know what it was, but my parents were contributors and donors to Missionary, which is an American Foreign Mission Association. And we would get their magazine every month, and the first thing I would do is go to the articles that were pertaining to Africa. And so that interest was there, and then in 2010 I had the opportunity to actually go to Nairobi, Kenya, to work with a Marino priest in the Makudu slums. And then I also worked, he was the chaplain for the Little Sisters of St. Francis, so I worked in their dispensary, and I went on their mobile clinics and did all their immunizations. And that was a 6-week tour. I took vacation, and I just fell in love with Kenya. And I thought, wow, this is what I want to do. And then that was 2004. In 2010, I went to Haiti and did earthquake relief. And that even confirmed things more. And I said, I think this is what I want to do. But at the time, I was raising a foster child who was a senior in high school. So I had to get him raised and on, off to college before I could do this. And once he did, then, but during this time I was investigating a lot of different orders, communities, Marino, Camboni, SMA, and SMA was the one that seemed to attract me most. So that's kind of how I got here.
Right. Well, awesome, thank you. So, how did you become a lay missionary? And for some viewers who may not know, what exactly is a lay missionary?
Okay. Well, a lay missionary is a lay person, just like you and I. We're not priests, we're brothers or sisters, professed. We are lay people that use our God-given talents to help those who are less fortunate. And so that's kind of a definition of a lay missionary or lay associate. And then it was a process. I knew I wanted to do some kind of volunteer work, but it had to be Catholic. And because there's a lot of NGOs and Peace Corps and things like that are out there. But I really felt I wanted a Catholic organization, and so that's how I found how I applied, and there was a lot of documents I needed to produce for SMA, and then once all that was finished, they had me come. This is when the program was in Tacoma Park, Maryland, and they had me come for a week of just like a discernment type week, and I went and I had my psychological evaluation, and then I don't know, it was sometime after the psychological evaluation that they wrote me a letter saying I was accepted. So I sold everything I had. I sold my house. I gave my car to my foster son. Basically gave everything away. I had a yard sale. I said $1 yard sale. Anything that was there was for $1, you know. So the whole neighborhood showed up.
Bargain.
You know, yeah. And so I got rid of everything.
Thank you. So tell us a little about the work that you do, or your time in Africa.
Okay. So I was sent to Ghana, and I served at Budaburam, which is in the southernmost part of Ghana. If you go any more south, you're in the Atlantic Ocean. And this is a former refugee camp, Liberian refugee camp. Liberia has been peaceful for many years now, so they're trying to get the refugees back to Liberia. So UNHCR, United Nations High Commission on Refugees, pulled out a few years back, and so there's no services for them. So it's now considered a refugee settlement. So I've been there. I work. I started out in the HIV department in the clinic, because that was an SMA project. They like to fit lay missionaries into SMA projects, and so it was natural that they sent me to the clinic, and I was in the HIV department, and I was only seeing maybe 1 or 2 people a day, and then I was sitting around reading books the rest of the day. And I thought, wow, you know, this is such a waste, and I was really becoming frustrated. And then one day I saw a woman, an American woman that was running around the clinic, and she came to me and she said, would you be willing to do physical therapy on the children in my school? And I said, no. I said, I'm a nurse. I only know basic physical therapy, so I wouldn't be interested in doing that. And she said, well, basic is more than what they're receiving now. And I got to thinking about that, you know, and I thought, well, maybe this is what God brought me here to do. Because obviously I was not being fulfilled and working to my capacity with the HIV department. So I thought maybe this is what God wants me to do. So I went back, it was a Friday, and talked to my superior, Father James Yaboa, and he said, you know, he said, if you'd like to do that, go ahead. He says, you can always go back to the HIV department. And you know, I was kind of surprised, because I really thought he was going to refuse because it was not an SMA project, but he was open to that. So I went back and on Monday and told her, yeah, I'll go ahead and give it a shot. And I started with one child, Yama, who was just the sweetest child. She was 6 years old, and she was like a newborn baby. She couldn't sit up. She didn't have any head control, no speech, had no control of her hands. And it's like, wow, what am I going to do with this child? You know, I don't know what to do, you know. So I just started working with her arms and her legs, you know, and sitting her up and, you know, playing with her. You know, she didn't get a lot of nurturing at home. And to this, she's now 12 years old, and she can walk with assistance. She has no balance, so when you walk, you have to be behind her, but she does now take independent steps, and still no speech. She says "mama" and "papa," and that's about the only 2 words that she says. And her hand coordination is getting better, and she's putting on weight. She was terribly malnourished when I started with her. And then it wasn't long after that that more and more kids started to come. And word was getting out that there was a white man on the camp who was working with these children. And nobody else was, and my services were free. And so more and more children started coming to the program. I'm up to 36 now, children. So they come and at around 8 o'clock, and I have 3 mothers who have disabled children that help me with the physical therapy. None of us are physical therapists, but we do our best, and obviously it's working because the children are getting better. And then I have a man and another woman who take the educationally challenged children, and he does basic education, ABCs, colors, shapes, that type of thing, and he works with them. So the 4 of us that do the work with the physically disabled, we all take a child, work with them for an hour, spend, your 100% attention is on that child for 1 hour, and then we take them back to the classroom so they can get some brain stimulation. And then we also have a feeding program. I started a feeding program, and the children get 1 good meal a day, and then around 3 in the afternoon, the moms bathe all the children, and then we get them ready to go home. So that's kind of like our day in a nutshell.
Yeah, busy day.
Yeah. I also do an outreach program. I go and visit the sick and elderly too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then twice a week I stop my work with the children for 1 hour at the end of the day, and I meet with people who are in need of whatever, school fees, medicine, clinic visits, try to start women in small businesses. And so by donations, I'll sit down with these people, and they tell me what they need, and I try to help as many people as I can, just through donations from friends at home, here at home. Yeah, so it's pretty busy.
Yeah. Sounds, it's truly amazing what you're doing. So it sounds like a very rewarding position and also a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, have you faced any challenges or certain obstacles along the way at all?
Yeah, there's been challenges and obstacles the whole way, but by God's grace, you just get over it. One in particular, when I first came to Budaburam, in my American way, as the children were getting more and more, and people were coming, and they were having to wait a long time before we could get to their child. It was only myself and another mother at that time, so it was really getting busy, and I was worried that they were having to wait so long. And so I talked to Rachel, my helper, and I said, I think we need to put these kids on a schedule, And so we sat down and we made out this really unique schedule, Emmanuel will come in from 8 to 9, and then, Elsa from 9 to 10, and just a really nice schedule. And it didn't work. It just didn't work. And so one day I just got this, the 8 o'clock appointment would come in at noon, So one day I just went crazy on Rachel, my helper. And I said, Rachel, I'm just going to come in whenever I want. I'm going to come in at 4:30 and leave at 5 if I want, And I just was going on and on and on, just went crazy, And she just stood there very calmly. And I remember her saying, "Joe," she goes, "this is Africa," you know, and she just put me in my place. And you know, from there I said, yes, you know, I cannot have them adapt to my ways. I have to adapt to their ways. And so that was a challenge, you know. Time, you know, nothing ever starts on time in Africa. So I learned a lot of patience since I've been there.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. It's been so great getting to talk to you and hear about your story. This has been Mr. Joe Worthington of the SMA, and I'm Amy McDonough from the Media Department of the SMA in Tenafly, New Jersey. Thanks so much.